happening for the first time. Today we're excited to do this. We're going to go through a few things, kind of just talk about chiropractic care, why it's important, kind of talk about why chiropractic care should be the first line of defense in regards to your care, in regards to pain, inflammation, just general back pain, even neck tension, low back. We live in an era where people are constantly on their computers, sitting, and postural changes start to lead to a lot of issues that are going on. One common phrase that you might hear people talk about when it comes to pain is just the overall fact of, oh, I woke up one day and I had this pain and it wouldn't go away. What people fail to realize is most chronic pain come from issues that are slowly occurring within the body, within the spine. So that way there's a lot more pressure being put on the spine. So today I'm going to take the time to kind of go through those things, kind of go through why you should see a chiropractor, whether you have pain or whether you don't have pain, in regards to if it's more pain care, sick care, or even just wellness care. There's a lot of things that we do as chiropractors that help regulate the pain and discomfort within our body, keeping our spine at a healthy state, so that way we are able to use our body optimally. Okay, so one of the first things, it's chiropractic should be your first line of defense into the healthcare system, especially when it comes to pain, inflammation, things like that. A lot of times their first line of defense will be going to their PCP or even an ortho. A lot of times that it tends to be the more aggressive route in regards to things. What we do in here is we take care of the body from top to bottom. I'm going to go over kind of how the spine works and why it's so important. With everything that we do, it's more of a non-invasive type of structure in regards to helping the body get to where it needs to be, allowing it to function. So I have a spine right here. I'm going to kind of go over it with you. This is my friend George. George, say hi. Cool. So a lot of people don't realize the spinal structures and how they work. Also, when it comes to your brain and your nervous system. Right up top here, this is where your head and your brain sits. They sit right on the occiput right here. So as things come out of your brain, they turn into your nerves. This is your nervous system, which is your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. From your brain communicates with your nerves or with your spinal cord, and those nerves transmit what your body wants to do and what you're trying to do. So movements, touch, feel, there's so many different things that kind of play along into this. So your brain sits up here, you have your nerves. In your neck, your nerves run all the way out to your fingertips. In your mid-back controls all your internal organs. In your low back, these nerves come out, they run all the way down to your toes. Why these are so important is these nerves control your ability to touch, control your ability to feel. They also control your strength within your body. So as you're there's a lot of people out there that are losing strength within their body, or they're losing grip strength, or they notice that they're getting numbness, tingling, those kinds of things. If you're getting those throughout the day, especially when you're working and doing certain things, then a lot of times what's happening is there's compression onto your nerve. As there's compression onto your nerve, think of your nerves as a water hose. If you take a water hose outside and you fold it in half, what happens is the flow stops. So then your body has to work a lot harder to do certain things, even just reaching for something and picking things up. So think of your whole body as a water hose. As decompression does definitely help. Absolutely. Decompression table helps a lot with that. Sorry, I'm just seeing the comments that are going on with this. So as you're taking pressure off of the nerve, our body's able to function a lot better, allows that muscle flow to go. As there's prolonged compression onto the nerve, what starts to happen is your discs start to wear down. It's a process known as degeneration. There's 4 big processes and stages into degeneration. If you've been to a chiropractor before, you've probably heard the term of degeneration altogether. So what degeneration, the process is happening is we have 3 curves within our spine. We have a curve up here, a C-shaped curve up top. We have a reverse C-shaped curve in the middle. We also have another C-shaped curve down in the lower spine. Okay. What these curvatures do is they help distribute weight evenly throughout our body. So as we go through different positions and different postures throughout the day, what happens is we start to put different pressures onto our spine. So I'm going to kind of turn around this way right here. as we're like this, a lot of times people are working on a computer. Not every day are we here into this posture right here. So what tends to happen is we start going into here and into here. So as we're like this for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, it starts to put more pressure onto our spine, right? So as we put more pressure onto our spine, it starts to put more pressure onto the front discs. So instead of these guys acting like a shock absorber here, as we start to turn this way, we start to put more pressure onto the front. And as to your point, like a 20-pound bowling ball, like you mentioned, as we're here, our neck muscles and our head muscles start at our occiput and attach at the C7 area. As we continue to go forward, now our head and neck muscles start to translate forward. We get that forward head posture, which then a lot of times you'll get a lot of tension between here, and then also into your shoulder blades. So a lot of times people attribute that to stress. As you attribute that to stress, what's really truly happening is those shoulders are rolling forward and those muscles are being overpulled. So if we take those muscles and think of them as a rubber band, if you keep pulling and stretching a rubber band, they overstretch. As you overstretch a rubber band, they become really weak at the same time. So, and then it's hard for them to snap back. So what we do as chiropractors is as we adjust the spine, we really focus on strengthening the spine and the muscles surrounding that spine, so that way we're not causing more pressure onto the spine as well. So to put degeneration into terms that most people can understand is think of elderly people in your life. Okay, so think of your grandparents, think of your parents, depending on age and things like that. A lot of times what we notice is they start shrinking and they're like this. And what happens is we start losing that range of motion and turning. Okay. What people start to realize is degeneration is a natural process within your body, which a lot of people think is normal. It's a natural process, but it's not normal. The process of degeneration is actually your body's defense mechanism. It's your defense mechanism because there's too much pressure and too much load being put onto your discs at the same time. So as you have too much pressure onto your discs, it starts to wear down, which is why you start noticing people start shrinking over time, or people start to say, oh, I have so much tension, I carry all my stress in my shoulders. You're really not carrying your stress in your shoulders. It's our body goes into defense mechanism to where we go like this. It's our sympathetics and our parasympathetics and our hormones being out of whack to where it starts to put more pressure. So I'm going to kind of go over the differences of the discs and the stages that occur within this as well. Okay, so here we have a healthy disc. As you can see right here, you can see the structure of the disc and how thick they are. Okay, you can see the nerves coming out of here as well. A lot of times people will talk about, they'll hear of spinal stenosis. What stenosis is it's compression onto the spinal cord right through here, okay? Then you'll have neuroforaminal stenosis, which it's compression onto the sides right here. So it's a matter of if it's coming from the actual spine and the spinal cord, or if it's coming through here to where there's compression onto the IVFs. So as there's compression onto the IVFs, it starts to go up. So then what happens is you start to get more muscle tightness, and that's where people have habitual muscle tightness as well, okay? Now, moving along, we're gonna go to a degenerated disc. So as you see the difference between the two, you can see two different scenarios to where they're different. You see right here how this is nice and thick, and then you see the disc, how it's very slim, okay? Now, even between here, you see how this is nice and smooth and circular, and then you also see how this area looks like a smushed pancake or a smushed jelly donut. That's the easiest way to describe it. Okay, so everything's flattening out. So think of this, your nerves are sitting here. As these spaces decrease, these guys start to have to work harder. That's where a lot of symptoms come from. Most people's first symptoms that they're seeing is tightness. So people are habitually tight and they become tense all the time. So they kind of feel like they carry their stress on their shoulders, okay? Now, as this process continues in regards to the discs, the next stage that's there is something called the prolapse disc, okay? So as you saw here, here's a healthy disc. You can see the disc fluid right here. We're gonna talk about this as a jelly donut, okay? If you've ever had a jelly donut, you have the donut and then you have all the internal filling within there. So jelly donut right here, here's the filling, okay? As we get into a prolapse disc, as there's more pressure being put onto this and we start degenerating, then the jelly part inside starts to get pushed around and moved around, Okay, this leads to more inflammation, more pain. Your discs are having to work a lot harder as opposed to your muscles holding your spine. Okay, as this continues on, this can get into a more severe state to where you go to an extruded disc, to where we have so much pressure where that jelly feeling is coming out or filling is coming out, and then sequestration. And that's in its most severest form. This can lead to pain, inflammation, numbness, tingling. In severe cases, what most people don't know is that your low or your mid back controls your internal organs, and same thing with your low back. So like a lot of times people have so much pressure onto your discs to where it's hard to cough, sneeze, or even bear down and go to the bathroom. You don't have that pressure within you to kind of push that out. And just like you said, you get a burning sensation as well. The burning sensation, the numbness, the tingling, those are all big things that kind of play into that as well. So we're going to kind of continue along with this with, a lot of people end up getting numbness and tingling down their legs. A lot of that is due to the fact that there's compression onto the discs. Now, different people can be in different stages with degeneration. You can have a 25-year-old with no disc degeneration at all, and you're going to have severe pain. You can also have a 60-year-old with lots of degeneration and no pain. The difference is most people by the time they're the ages of 25 have some degree of a disc herniation or a bulging disc. We just don't know about it. A lot of that is due to wear and tear with everything that we're doing within our body. It's a matter of if those herniations and those bulges are showing symptoms or not. And it can be super severe, and it could also be very mild. Everybody is completely different, and everybody shows the symptoms a different way. Okay. So that's why a lot of times, like, MRIs are great. They depict a big picture as to what's going on in certain severities. Even when going to your chiropractor for the first time, getting an x-ray is paramount to helping with care. Now, if there's people that don't want an x-ray, they don't need an x-ray if they don't want it, but it gives us a better picture as to what's going on, especially when you have other symptoms like numbness, tingling, headaches. Headaches are a big common thing that a lot of people deal with, and people attribute it to a lot of tension. So where do headaches come from? A lot of times their shoulders rolled forward, start pulling on these muscles. You can literally sit there and start pushing on the back of your neck. I bet you 90% of you that are watching will have some degree of tension within there. As there's over prolonged tension, then what happens is they start to lead to pain, because you start decreasing the amount of blood flow that's going to your brain, and then that's where headaches stem from. Okay, there's tension headaches where it feels like you have a tight headband wrapped around your head, and then you also have migraines to where you start getting an aura behind your eyes. A lot of times people will go to a neurologist for certain migraines. Do the neurologist help? Absolutely. But also at the same time, you can't keep throwing medication at things for where most things you can't really fix a structural issue with medication. You'll get rid of the pain, sure, that can definitely help, but you're not actually fixing that structural issue and the strengthening part of things. So even with chiropractic, getting adjusted is huge, but if you're not strengthening along with that, then you're missing half the boat, because as we get adjusted, then what happens is we work on that strengthening part of things, and as the strength increases, then it takes a lot of pressure off of our discs as well. Okay, and that's that process of degeneration to where we start to shrink. Now, a lot of people we talked about this earlier, they start talking about how the degeneration is a natural or is normal. Is it normal? Yes. Is it something that should be happening? No, because we only get one spine. So living in a sick care world in America, we keep going, oh, little pains here and there, we ignore it. But as we ignore those things tend to become worse as time goes on, which is why the simplest thing of bending down and just picking something up leads to more issues altogether. If you bend down and pick up something from the ground, and your back starts to hurt and you pulled your back or you threw your back out, what's really happening is there's something that's been underlying that's sitting there, and it's finally kind of given out. Okay, and as that gives out, then your body starts to lay down that inflammation process. And for some people, things will kind of take longer, for that pain will last a lot longer, or will go away. Most people notice they'll wake up in the morning, they'll have a certain pain, and Within 2 or 3 days, if you have a crick in your neck, it'll go away. But as time goes on, you start noticing that that crick in your neck tends to be the same side, the same place, most mornings. And then as time goes on, it starts to last a lot longer. So what'll last is 2 or 3 days before will now last as 2 to 3 weeks. And part of the reason why that is because there's been so much pressure putting onto our discs. Also, thank you for subscribing to the channel. We appreciate that. And based off your comment on seeing kids getting chiropractic care, kids getting chiropractic care is a huge thing. Personally, I have 3 little boys. They're ages 2, 3, and 6, and I've been adjusting them from pretty much the day they were born, actually about an hour after they were born. A lot of people think you're crazy for doing that, but there's so many instances as to why that's important. Just the birthing process and the pushing, the squeezing, even if you end up having a C-section, just being pulled out of the canal and pulled out of mama, there's a lot of pressure on the body, within the spine. So it's, yes, they may not have pain, but it's literally resetting their nervous system and their body, allowing them to get used to the outside world. It's like that first deep breath, and first time they open their eyes, they get that feeling to where they're starting to have to do things on their own. Okay, there's a lot of, not trauma, but there's a lot of pressure that goes on to mama and the baby. So kids getting adjusted is huge. If you think of the process of a child as they grow, they crawl, they fall, they start walking, they start doing all these things. They're so resilient to getting back up and continuing to go. All right. So as those things happen, they get into that play mode. They get hurt, but they continue to go and they keep going. So for kids, getting adjusted once a month is huge in regards to just keeping their spine in proper alignment. Not only proper alignment as they grow, but also keeping their nervous system healthy. Not saying that chiropractic care is going to make your immune system so strong to where you don't get sick, but it can definitely help boost your immune system and aid your body into making your immune system stronger. Because once again, as you take pressure off of the spine, you take pressure off of the nerves that come out of your spine and go back to your brain. So as that whole process and that pathway is clear and allowed to work properly, then our body's able to do a lot of things a lot quicker and a lot better. Which is why a lot of times people in pain, as they're going through a calculated route towards getting better and really getting things stronger, then it starts to help in the long run altogether. Okay. As we go through things, I explained the spine and the structures. Now I'm kind of going to go over the types of things that chiropractic care can help with. A lot of times everybody attributes it to back pain. So yes, back pain is one of the biggest things and one of the most common things. But there's so many more things into it that come with back pain. So I'm going to start from head to toe. First thing is also like neck and trap pain. Even if it's just tightness, neck and trap pain can lead to pressure onto the disc. So what people end up happening is a lot of times one of the most common things is numbness and tingling. So if you are getting numbness and tingling, it's not normal, but is it common? Yes, but there's a series of things that kind of happen with that. A lot of times people will think that numbness and tingling into their hands are strictly due to carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel, there's a sheath right here that compresses onto the nerve right there, which can lead to numbness and tingling right here. But if you're sitting at home right now and you notice numbness and tingling in your fingertips, go ahead and feel your forearm. Feel your forearm on the outside, feel your forearm on the inside. If you notice, it's really tender and really stiff right there. If you get pain right there, most of the time, that muscle is really tight due to overuse, or we're doing the same thing over and over again. And another area is going to be right here in your neck and traps. So you got a bunch of entrapment points for that nerve. So obviously coming out of the disc, right into your shoulder, right here into your traps, even underneath your armpit. If you kind of push on those points, it's really not carpal tunnel. A lot of it's stemming from the disc as well, and to where everything tracks out. Then we're going to move down lower, like obviously numbness and tingling. Then we're going to get headaches. Headaches are a big thing that most people deal with. Tension headaches, stress headaches, temporal headaches to where there's a lot of pressure here. Migraines, those are a big part as well. All right, now we're going to move into the mid-back. A lot of people don't realize this, but as we roll forward and we sit like this, it starts to put more pressure onto our spine. If you ever find yourself sitting like this and you try to get up into better posture, you'll probably last about a minute or two, and then you'll start getting back here. So that's where we need to change those things, right? Even just sitting posturally at your desk. If you're at a desk and you sit and lean one way, or you're at home and you sit and lean on the couch one way, we habitually do these things over and over and over and over again every single day. So as we do that every single day, it starts to put more pressure on our body, and that's where lateral flexion curves come from. So people can generate a lateral flexion curve. A lot of times people call it scoliosis. Not a big fan of the word scoliosis until it hits about 16, 18 degrees. But if you sit like this all day and you do this for 3, 4, more 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you do this for 5 to 10 years, or even 5 years, you sit working on your desk and you sit like this, you're eventually gonna build a lateral flexion curve, which then tightens your muscles, puts more pressure on your disc, and then that cascade effect continues to go on and on and on. Now, going into the low back, a lot of times people have low back pain as well. So you'll see people kind of sit into their desk. I'm gonna turn this way. We'll start here, and then we'll start sitting like this. So as we have pressure here, we're gonna also have pressure right here as well. So as we sit like that for long periods of time, it starts to put more pressure on the disc as well. Sorry, I keep turning and moving because I'm trying to explain this as we go through it as well. Okay, so as you can probably tell, sitting is a very big thing as to what causes a lot of issues in being sedentary. Okay, even getting into sleep postures. Sleep postures are a big thing because most people wake up with pain in the mornings. So there's a lot of sleep postures that play into things as well. One of the worst ways that you can sleep is on your stomach. Biggest thing is you're on your stomach, you're gonna have more pressure onto your spine. Now, when you're face down, you have to bring your arms up, or you have to do this. Not only that, your face goes into the pillow or into the bed. So you can't breathe like this. We have to turn our head. So as we do this, we're gonna put more pressure right here, okay? So if you wake up with a crick in your neck a lot of times it's putting a lot of pressure here. And then it gets really stiff and it can lead to numbness and tingling as well. So stay away from your stomach at all costs, okay? As a kid, tummy time is great. Sleeping on your stomach is great. It's not a big deal just because our body's developing, and then our muscles and our ligaments have a lot more give to them as we get older, especially once we get into our early 20s, mid-20s, late 20s. That's when it starts to become a really big issue. Also, a lot of times people, sleeping on your side is great. I sleep on my side personally, but when you sleep on your side, don't sleep on your arm. If you sleep on your arm, once again, it's going to cause compression there, okay? Even if you sleep like this, curled up in a ball. Get on your side, but stay off your shoulder, okay? Stay off of your shoulder right here, which is your deltoid muscle. Get more onto your shoulder blade. So when you're on your side, get onto your shoulder blade and act like you're hugging a pillow. You're going to distribute a lot more weight onto your shoulder blade, which is a bigger surface area altogether. As you're able to distribute that weight, then it's going to take a lot more pressure off your body as well. Now, when you're on your side as well, make sure we're not hiking up a leg. So a lot of times people, when they're on their side, I don't know if you can see this, but you'll sleep and they'll go like this. As you're doing this, it's going to put more pressure and rotation into your spine in the long run. So when you're sleeping on your side, I'll stand up right here. We don't want to be like this. We want to be on our side, okay? On our shoulder blade and neutral right here. Okay, so as we're neutral like this, it's going to have our spine in the most neutral position. Now back to the stomach. Here's on our stomach. Eventually gravity is going to take it so there's pressure onto our spine right here. And then you don't want to do this because you're going to get pain here. And then also with your neck, you have to turn. So literally, imagine you're standing like this for 7, 8 hours. That's going to be very painful for your body. A lot of times what you want to do, the best position along with your side is going to be on your back. So if we're on our back, okay, everything is flat. We want our pillow to be neutral. Okay, I'll talk about that in a second. What we want to do is put a pillow or two underneath their knees. As we put a pillow or two underneath their knees, it's going to take that arch out of your low back. So if you lay down on the bed and you lay straight, you'll notice there's an arch right here, and that can cause a little pressure for some people. So what you do is put a pillow underneath your knees. I generally just 2 pillows that are normally laid flat. And then what you do is as you bend your knees and put your hand under your back, you'll notice that your back becomes flat and pushing onto the bed and the mattress, which is overall going to take pressure off of that spine altogether. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is your pillow, okay? When it comes to your pillow, you don't want anything too thick. You also don't want anything too thin. You want to have a neutral spine when you're sleeping. If it's too thick, you end up going like this. And as we do this, these muscles are overstretched and overlong for prolonged periods of time, which can lead to tightness and discomfort as well. Okay. If it's too thin, you end up doing this, which is going to pull from the front sides into your anterior scaling muscles, and also pull your traps up as well as a defense mechanism. All right. So there's a lot of ways that we can go about chiropractic care and how it can help. Like I said, this is my first time doing a live video. I hope this is beneficial to whoever's watching this. If there are some topics that you want to cover, or if you have any questions about anything, please let us know. Please let me know, because I have no problem getting on here and kind of going over some things in regards to what can help, what's more beneficial, what's better than the other things. The way that we live our life is really a true testament as to what is going on within our body. If we are able to take care of our body, not only just the way that we eat, but the way that we move, the way that we do things, the way that we do things on a daily basis is most of the issue. The way we sit, the way we stand, those are big things in regards to where most people's pains come from. I'm going to show you one more thing right here, because people don't even think about it. But most of the time when people stand, okay, we don't stand neutral like this. Most people don't stand neutral, right? Which is a good place you want to stand. You don't want to stand with your knees hyperextended, because then that puts more pressure and more arch in your low back. You want to have a slight knee bend. I usually tell people to where you have like a 5-degree squat, okay? And want our shoulders back. But what happens is when we stand, people shift their hips. I'm going to over-exaggerate this, but we shift our hips. When we shift our hips, your brain will always take you to the same side all the time. Okay, even if we sit with our leg crossed over each other, you have a favorite side. Everybody does. As you shift your hips, you're going to stay in this position as long as you can. Once fatigue hits and it gets tired and sore, you're going to switch to the other side. Once this side starts to feel better, your brain is naturally going to take you back to the other side. So if we're sitting for long periods of time or standing for long periods of time, and you notice that you're crossing your legs or you're shifting your weight, pay attention to that, because those are things for long periods of time over years and years and years that lead to more issues in regards to our spine, in regards to our low back altogether. So pay attention to those things as well, because doing things for prolonged periods of time are a big thing. So I always tell people, really focus on what we're doing throughout the day. Look at where our brain is taking us, and then it's a matter of retraining our brain. Chiropractic care is amazing for helping things. And the biggest thing I tell people is, as we're doing chiropractic care, a lot of people have this thing, well, I hear if I go to a chiropractor, I have to do it for the rest of my life. Well, it's kind of like losing weight. If you're on a weight loss journey and you lose all your weight, then you have to maintain that weight. With a lot of things we do in our office, we do things based off of chronicity and also where people are at. Everybody's at a different stage. Everybody wants different things. We generally suggest, if you are having pain that's lasting and it's been there for a long time, we want to do more corrective care first, so that way we can maintain it at a better state later. Now, if there's people that don't want to do corrective care, then we can absolutely maintain it. Then we're going to maintain it where it's at and do what we can to make those changes. So longevity wise, things will get better. It just takes a lot longer. So at the end of the day, there's a chiropractor for everybody, but there's also just knowing how and where to go, so that way things are explained to you properly. A lot of people have misconceptions of chiropractors, but that's everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you go to a haircut place and get a bad haircut. Still got to get your haircut, right? So chiropractic is one of those things that can help longevity wise, and it can help prevent having worse issues as time goes on. And it's really geared towards getting our body and keeping our body healthy for the longevity, as opposed to destroying it slowly over time. There's a quote out there that says that sitting is a silent killer, and with all the technology that we have these days, it is getting worse. But we're here to help. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Please subscribe to the channel, and if there's anything else that you guys want to hear or learn about, let me know. Take care. Bye.